Hi, so today I'm going to talk about addiction as an overall disease. I'm going to talk about how I didn't just wake up one morning and decide to be a drug addict. Addiction is chronic, incurable, but manageable, similar to diabetes, heart disease, and asthma. So one question I have is, why do you not feel bad for the junkie on the side of the street, sick and suffering, but you do feel bad for one of the people sick and suffering from the diseases that I just mentioned? That's something I'll never understand, but we're just going to jump right into it. So when you're an addict, your survivor self takes over. So when your survivor self takes over, all you care about is pleasure, reward, eating, and sex. So you don't register what your needs are, and you fill it with all kinds of different things because you have a motto of fill it or don't feel it. So you fill it with different things like drugs, alcohol, risky behavior, sex, gambling, binging, overeating, things like that. So unhealthy coping skills. And don't worry, there's a multitude of healthy coping skills, which I talked about in my last video, which if you need, you could just watch that one. But anyway, I'm going to talk about how it literally alters your brain chemistry. So from nicotine to heroin, there is a dopamine increase. So whether you're addicted to cigarettes or you're shooting heroin, your increase in dopamine changes. So it already affects your mind. So your brain produces less dopamine naturally, becoming reliable on the drug. Because your brain basically says, why would I produce dopamine naturally if I have this thing coming in, doing it for me, and it feels even better than if I did it on my own. So it's an adaptation like turning down the volume on a speaker when the noise is too loud. So and then as time goes on, your tolerance grows, pleasure subsides, and then that's when it becomes a full-time job. So this is where it's not fun anymore. And this is when the addiction really does take into place. And this is what I'm saying, like, addiction is a disease. Like, for example, my friends and family used to get so offended when I, like, relapsed and whatnot. But, like, I used to say, like, no offense, but, like, I'm sick. Like, I'm not thinking about you when I'm about to get high. Like, my survival self takes over and I'm thinking about reward and pleasure and sex and eating. I'm not thinking about whose feelings I'm hurting. I'm thinking about myself. I'm not thinking about what I need. I'm thinking about what I want. So it's like crazy how my brain actually is altered because anyone who knows me knows that's not me. And yeah, so addiction is a disease and it literally alters your mindset. And one thing that I want to change is that addiction, I'm not saying feel bad for like me, if for example, but I'm saying you should have a little bit more sympathy. If you're going to feel bad for the person who has heart disease and diabetes and asthma, then why wouldn't you feel bad for the person who has addiction? Because they're sick and suffering too, just mentally. And they literally, like, their brain chemistry is messed up. So I hope this resonated with some people today and you actually learned something. So any questions, just message me, and thanks for listening.